One of the things that I often tell students when they're learning American English is that they have to add more breath. In fact, you can hear it in my own speech. It's that low resonant sound. That means I'm using my diaphragm, which is an organ kind of around that area, and it has an impact on your lungs when you breathe. And the more you're able to use that, the more you'll be able to achieve a natural sound in American English. And today we're going to do an exercise that we actually have on the channel. On our homepage, if you look at our playlist, we have a playlist that mentions breath. And one of the first exercises you'll see is one that goes into more detail on a strategy I want to show you today. Hello, guys. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon. Welcome to your daily American English pronunciation show. Wake up, American. We are here Monday through Friday, typically around 8 a.m. Unfortunately, we have something to do this morning, so that's why we're here a little bit early. And what we do is we just kind of make sure that you get in your 5 to 10 minutes of American English practice in because that's what it takes. Maybe this weekend you weren't able to use as much English as you wanted. Maybe you weren't in your community, or maybe you don't have a community, and you're still kind of trying to build that out. Well, that's why we're here. We're here to make sure that you can still get a little bit of practice in. To guide you in this process, there's me. Hello, my name is Jeff. It runs a breath. It's one of the four keys to a natural sound in American English, including placement, pitch, breath, and trying to weaken your consonant sounds. So today, what we're going to need is we're going to need a transcript. And you can do this with anything. You could do this with a book. You could do this with a transcript from an interview. That's my general recommendation. And what you need to do. So you can see here, I have our paragraph. One second, just going to grab a marker so I can add some things to this. Okay, so the first thing that you need to do is you need to find some sort of text. Some sort of text. Hello also to Emanuela. Thank you so much for being with us today. We appreciate you. So once we have our text, what we're going to do is we're going to do a quick little breakdown. Okay, so let's look at this really long paragraph. This one that starts with long. Okay, and it goes down to stopped. And what we're going to do, first things first, let's just see how far we can go on a single breath. Let's just see how far we can go. I'm going to breathe in. Well, it turns out there's actually some evidence that they're switching their diets. So as the proportion of zebra in their diet goes down, the amount of buffalo has gone up. So that means that so far, the lion population seems okay, like their numbers are stable. There are still places in the park with tree cover where they're having decent luck catching zebras, but these tiny invasive ants are still taking over the park at a rate. Okay, so that's how far I could get on a single breath. See how far you could get. If it's one line, okay. If it's two lines, okay. If it's as long as I did, that's okay too. Hello to Nina again. Great to see you as always. Doesn't really matter how far you get. Okay, and also hello to Emmanuel. So it doesn't really matter necessarily how far you get. The goal is just to kind of get a benchmark to see how far you normally go. All of that again was on a single breath, so you don't want to take in more air. You just want to see what is the maximum that you can do at the moment. One of the things you may find is that if you have heavier consonant sounds, it's going to really limit how far you can go. Like if I do shorter vowel sounds and heavier consonant sounds, like, well, it turns out that there's actually some evidence that they're switching their diet. So as the proportion of zebra in their diet goes down, the amount of buffalo goes on. You can hear the sound quality changes. The air feels a lot less able to flow and things like that. So by focusing more on the vowel sounds, well, it turns out there's actually some evidence for switching their diets. Versus, well, it turns out there's actually some evidence that they're switching their diets. You can hear the difference in sound there. This is going to affect your airflow. So let's kind of start building a little bit. I'm going to add in some thought crews for us. Well, it turns out there's actually some evidence they're switching their diets. So as a portion of zebra in their diet goes down, the amount of buffalo's gone up. So that means that so far, the lion population seems okay. Like the numbers are stable. There's still places in the park with tree cover. We're having decent luck catching zebras. But these tiny invasive ants are still taking over the park at a rate of about 160 feet a year. It's not clear if they can be stopped. Okay, so I marked off some thought groups. You can mark off your own thought groups with whatever text you're using. Don't worry too much about, oh, does a thought group go here or a thought group go there? In all honesty, almost anything can work in the right context. Okay, so we're not really worried about that. So let's now try building up with the thought groups. Okay, just try to repeat after me. Each time we do this, we're doing a single breath. Okay, so our first round. Breathe in. Well, it turns out, cool. Breathe in again. Well, it turns out that there's actually some evidence. Okay, breathe in again. Let's add a third one. Well, it turns out there's actually some evidence that they're switching their diets. Okay, do you see what we're doing? We're just slowly building up on a single breath. Breathe in. Well, it turns out that there's actually some evidence that they're switching their diets. So as the proportion of zebra in their diet goes down, let's do it again. Breathe in. Well, it turns out that there's actually some evidence that they're switching their diets. So as the proportion of zebra in their diet goes down, the amount of buffalo has gone up. Okay, let's add more. Let's add two more. Breathe in. Well, it turns out that there's actually some evidence that they're switching their diets. So as the proportion of zebra in their diet goes down, the amount of buffalo has gone up. So that means that so far the lion population seems okay. Let's see if we can go down all the way to zebras. Okay, breathe in. Well, it turns out there's actually some evidence that they're switching their diets. So as the portion of zebra in their diet goes down, the amount of buffalo has gone up. So that means that so far the lion population seems okay, like the numbers are stable. There are still places in the park with tree cover where they're having decent luck catching zebras. Okay, now we're going to go for the whole thing, the whole shebang. Okay, breathe in. Let's see if we get down to stop. I didn't even get to stop the first time. Let's see if I can do it now. I'm going to breathe in. Well, it turns out there's actually some evidence that they're switching their diets. So as the proportion of zebra in their diet goes down, the amount of buffalo has gone up. So that means that so far, the lion population seems okay. Like their numbers are stable. There's still places in the park with tree cover where they're having decent luck catching zebras. But these tiny invasive ants are still taking over the park at a rate of about 160 feet a year. And it's not clear if they can be stopped. Even I got better. Look at that. Hey, we are doing things today. Hopefully you're kind of feeling it too. Hopefully you're already a little bit farther than that very first time you did it. Just want to kind of highlight a couple other things you want to keep in mind when you're doing this sort of exercise. The first thing, let's just talk a little bit about pitches. In general, in American English, when you switch a thought group, you want to change the pitch level that you're using. So I don't want to say, well, it turns out there's actually some evidence they're switching their diets. The proportion of zebra in their diet goes down. That's very flat. Sounds robotic. Okay. So instead, well, it turns out there's actually some evidence that they're switching their diets. Do you see now I'm increasing the range of pitches I'm using as I speak that. The other thing I want to tell you is that you don't want to like go super fast. I know you're like, oh, but I'm going to run out of breath. No, you're going to run out of breath faster if you speak too fast. You're going to be like, well, it turns out there's actually some evidence they're switching. No, don't talk fast. That's not the goal. You can actually go farther if you speak slower in a lot of ways. In fact, you can even add some pauses for every thought group marker you see here. And that actually can help you go farther as well. I know it sounds ironic that you're using pauses and taking longer, but actually being able to go farther. But that is also a very common experience. Okay? Nina is saying, I noticed I exhaled at stable both those two times. Where is stable? I have to find out. The populations are stable. Okay, so again, like halfway through, these are great benchmarks to have. Okay, if you've never done this sort of exercise before, this sort of thing takes practice. So Nina, we're going to go again, okay? We're going to, every time we see the thought group marker, I want you to pause. Don't let out too much breath at the same time. Let's see if we can get farther than stable. Okay, so every thought group marker, we're going to pause for just like a second. Breathe in. Well, it turns out that there's actually some evidence that they're switching their diets. So as the proportion of zebra in their diet goes down, the amount of buffalo has gone up. So that means that so far, the lion population seems okay. Like, their numbers are stable. There are still places in the park with tree cover where they're having a decent luck catching zebras. But these tiny, invasive ants are still taking over the park at a rate of about 160 feet a year. It's not clear if they can be stopped. All right, ran out of breath there. Okay, so that time, do you notice the difference in strategy? So we're making sure to pause at every thought group because the goal is not to talk quickly. The goal is to keep the breath flowing and be in control of it. And pausing very often is something that we're not doing enough of. Notice too that also when we pause, we're not adding in more breath. Just because I'm pausing doesn't mean I'm taking in more air. Okay. So again, that's just a quick little breath exercise you can do to start working on your control of breath when you speak in American English. If you want more practice with that, again, if you go to the channel and on the playlist page, you're going to see exercises related to breath. It's one of the first ones. It's me. I think I'm wearing a yellow shirt. Might be wearing this. I have a little stopwatch I'm looking at. I got puffy cheeks and things like that in like a park background. So look at that video. You'll go through this sort of exercise with you. All right, guys, I do have to run. Thank you so much for being with me. There's a million pronunciation resources out there, so the fact you turn into us for a little bit of help is greatly, greatly appreciated. Once more, my name is Jeff. It rhymes with breath. It's one of the 4 keys to a natural sound in American English. We'll see you tomorrow. Hope you guys have a good day. Have a good night. Have a good afternoon.